Good morning, guys. It is bright and early, 5:01 a.m. And today we are going to get some miles in the On Cloudmonster Hyper and do a comparison to the ASICS Superblast, which is another one of these dual foam, racing foam, expensive shoes. Now, in my first run review of the On Cloudmonster Hyper here, I tried as much as possible to avoid talking about the price and just focus on the merits of this shoe as a fast training shoe, as a speed trainer, marathon trainer / daily trainer that's built to last the miles and give a fun but fast ride. However, with a shoe priced $220, it's a little bit hard to not focus on price, even if you are getting PIBA in this cool design language here. So today we're going to take a look at this shoe against one of the other super expensive training shoes on the market. And that would be this guy here, ASICS Superblast, and the laces are just sprawling out on me in these videos with this guy. But this is one that came into my rotation recently as well. It's got FF Turbo, so this is ASICS Racing Foam, very similar setup to Cloudmonster Hyper here, where you got the race foam on top and then a firmer foam on the bottom to add some more stability. This guy's a little bit lighter weight. We can throw these on the scale at some point, but really a fan favorite, and not my favorite in terms of non-plated shoes, but I know a lot of you guys love this shoe. So what I want to do today is compare these two head to head, go over all the differences. I got almost 100 on this. This is a newer one, so what we got to do is lace it up and take it for a run. So we're going to take this to the gym. I have my final workout of the marathon training season and the Cloudmonster Hyper. So let's get into it. And I just gotta say, guys, this thing's a really good looking shoe. I know On's design language is polarizing, but I am on the I love it pole. I think this thing looks sick. Alright, so I put the Daniels book out last night. Let's see. I just dropped a lot of stuff on the floor. That's very loud. Hopefully I did not wake the baby up. That was not good. The top of my coffee hit the ground. Anyway, last workout here. Q2, second quality session of the week, or second workout of the week. The first one, I did this as a 20-mile long run, 3x2 at threshold. Today's going to be 3x2 at threshold, but only 10 miles. And I don't know why, but Daniels has been running back the 2-mile threshold repeats 3 times in a row. So this is our last time. Next week we're going to do 4x1200 at threshold as the real last workout. This is the second to last workout. And then Sunday we start this is the real taper, or I don't like using that word. This is the real sharpening schedule. So we're going to do this today, Q2. Let's do it. Hobby Talk Rat's coming soon. I'm going to be that guy. Take the last corn muffin. Thanks, Charles. Man, it is cold. Let's see. Yeah, 45 degrees. I gotta blast the heat. I don't know if this 4 a.m., 5 a.m. wake up is getting any easier. I was actually supposed to wake up at 4:30 this morning, but I slept till 5. It's a balance. Getting enough sleep and trying to be around. Because if I get 8 hours of sleep every night, I would have to go to bed at 8 p.m. or 9 p.m., which is just not possible. So, maybe at a different phase of my life, when my kids are all 7+ years old, I can try to get 8 hours of sleep. But you gotta do what you gotta do, man, right? Alright, I'll see you guys in a bit. We're gonna crank some tunes, eat this corn muffin. I knew it was cold, man. Look at that. 38 degrees. Alright, guys, so my plan for the workout this morning, and I'm going to talk to you about it from the car because it is freezing out there, 39 degrees, is to take these at probably about a 550 pace starting out
and then progress it. So see how the first two feel around that 550 pace, and then progress the next two, maybe get down to 540s. But again, this is not going to be a fitness building workout like I said a few days ago. This is more of a sharpening workout. We want to feel sharp by the end of it. Oh man, the bangers are coming on. Alright, I should get myself out of the warm car and just toughen up. This is where the real men are made. Holding me down like the chosen one. Oh yes, my treadmill's open this morning. So the fit on these Cloudmonster Hyper is nearly perfect. I absolutely love the way these things feel. The upper is really nice, locked in. You get a nice amount of room. It's not too tight, not too snug, but the lockdown over the top is really great. It almost feels like a racing upper here. And it just coddles your foot. I don't like using the P word premium, but it feels, I said this in the first run review, it feels like a shoe where you get what you're paying for. Yeah, I messed up. Alright, 2-mile warm up, let's go. Alright guys, just got a little warm up here. The Patagonia's got to come off, but these really start feeling nice around my aerobic or everyday running paces. Recovery zone, bit clunky, bit heavy feeling, but once I start putting some force into it, this Peeba up in the front responds. Now, I do have to say the weight, we'll talk about it later, but I think holding on to the CloudTech pods in the forefoot might be a mistake, because if they just put a half plate up here, that could save probably half an ounce to make this feel a little bit lighter. Now guys, one more thing I noticed is if you take a look here, so there's a gap between this EVA carrier or these mini CloudTech in the front and then the slab of Peeba. And if you look at my forefoot when I press down on the phone, you can see that gap closes. So I have no idea how or if or why or who or when. No, I have no idea how or if that gap affects the ride, and whether having that little bit of air between these two layers of foam does anything. Probably not, but it is a little bit interesting that you have that gap between these two layers of foam in the front, and I'm wondering if that adds any sort of thing to the ride. So I'll keep an eye out if it's giving me any sort of different forefoot sensation than just normal Peeba would. All right, workout time for real. Let's do it. Man, it is amazing how short 10 miles feels. And by the way, I think I solved the heart rate tracking issue. So we'll see what the average heart rate was today. But yeah, after ripping off 12s and 14s every morning, well, 12s every morning, 14s occasionally, doing a 10 feels like a treat. Okay, it got us at 873 this morning. That is super rough. I think it's because I was running a lot faster than normal. And I know you guys tell me, get the stride pod. I don't want to have all that extra tech. So we're going to just rock with the recalibrating for now. But let's see. So we got 10 miles, average 640 pace, 1 hour, 6 minutes, 45 seconds, heart rate 149. Nice. And man, so my initial plan for this video was to make Cloudmonster Hyper versus Superblast. But I don't think I'm going to do that. I think I'm going to save that official versus video for once I have more miles in the Cloudmonster Hyper, because I am a little bit unsure of the ride of this thing, and I need a few more outdoor longer runs to really see the true character. So this morning, well, first let's talk about the first run we had in this thing. And by the way, these laces are just out of control. They're super long. I don't mind it, but I actually had to, full disclosure, I actually had to get off the treadmill and retie this shoe because it was flopping everywhere. But yeah, first run in this guy, Cloudmonster Hyper. What did we do? We did 12 miles outside, and it was smooth. It was nice. I'm a big fan of these clouds. You guys know I normally wear my Cloud Monsters everywhere. I've switched to wearing the Craft Pacer as my normal around town shoe because that Cloud Monster was just so beaten. It's got retired into backyard lacrosse shoe. But this thing has a similar feeling with the Cloud Tech. But on the first run, it didn't feel like a particularly light shoe, but it also didn't feel super heavy. Now, when I measured this, it was the same exact weight as the Boston 12. But today, this morning, for some reason, it's feeling a little bit heavy. And my legs are also a little bit beat up. I did my last double of the cycle yesterday, so 12 miles and in the morning in the Boston 12 and here on the treadmill, and then 6 miles in the stroller. My legs are feeling heavy, but I think this EVA up here, and I don't mind that it's EVA, it has a purpose. It's to add structure, it's to add support, and because they're not adding a plate here, it stabilizes this forefoot foam. But I think they might be getting hoisted by their own petard by continuing the Cloud Tech up in the forefoot. As I mentioned when I popped off the treadmill, if they were, now hear me out, if they were to continue to do the back half here with the Cloud Tech, get rid of this. Because if you look how they're wrapping these teeth up on the side to give it this Crocs-like effect, this is functioning how a plate functions by stabilizing the foam. So if they were to get rid of this, add a little plastic shank just right here. Or you could do it the whole way. That would save a lot of weight. Now, I don't know. This is something I should know as a person who reviews shoes. Maybe I'll find out. I don't know how much this EVA foam weighs per cubic ounce, whatever, cubic inch, however it's measured. But if they could save an ounce, half an ounce, by going plated in here, that might be a good call. They could call it the speed board and just extend it up in the half. And that would be really similar to what the Boston 12 does, where in the Boston 12, over here, you got the bottom layer of Light Strike, and then you got the Light Strike Pro on top. So in this guy, it's actually not an issue with the firmness of the ride in the back. I really like how these Cloud Tech pods feel, and it is decently smooth to get you up to your forefoot. And you can see in this little hole right here, this is where the PIBA starts. And what's actually interesting that I'm noticing, let me pull my other shoe over here. Actually, let me pop this guy off. 80s on 8. But yeah, with this guy here, and we got to pull these laces in, you can see the difference on these two sides where they're starting, or this is one we were looking at. Yeah, let's look at it like this. So where the foam starts, so you can see in the, what is this, the medial side, the inside of the shoe, they start the PIBA up around here, so right around the ball of the foot. On the lateral side, the outside, it started way closer, almost at the heel. And so they probably have some PIBA in here, as you can see. But what that's doing is adding a little bit more stability on the inside of the shoe. And then this is also a very structured piece. Someone asked me, I think it was my guy or my gal, my dude Mercury, god of eloquence, asked me if this was 3M tape. It's not 3M tape, but it is very structured. And on the inside of the shoe, there's a lot of support. So that's the thing about the shoe. There's going to be no pronation, really. This is super stable. That's what I love about the On shoes. Super stable. And the upper is nice. But, man, this EVA foam, I think that's going to be the main downside of it, the weight. And that's why I want to wait to do a full comparison with the Superblast or that full versus video to see over time how the weight affects the ride at different speeds. And so this morning, let me see if I can fire up the splits here. Well, that's what we were bumping at the end. Some Boldy James, but it usually takes a bunch of time to load. Let's see if we can get the Coros to just fire up. Water break. Man, this thing is not loading, and I don't want to just be banoodling around the gym for 20 minutes. So let's close it out talking about a few more things about the Cloudmonster Hyper. So another thing I noticed today was when flexing this right shoe, you can see this flex point that I was feeling. Look at that. Right here, right forward at the G, I could feel that weird crinkle. And this is something that happens in some shoes. It wasn't happening on this side. Or I guess it is happening, but I couldn't feel it as much. And so there's a little bit of a weird flex point happening where I could feel the crinkling of the upper. And this was just at slower paces. When I was running faster, it didn't happen. But that is a little bit of a weird thing. And I'm not sure if it's because of the firmness of the foam or the structure of the upper. But that was one of the negatives of the run this morning, or something that was a little bit weird. Upper, though, again, great fit. I absolutely love this upper. Heel lockdown was good. There is a little bit of extra room just all around, which I don't mind, but I know some of you, again, every time I have to do a video with the shoe, I'll have to say it, because I know some of you don't like that. So if you have a narrow foot, size half a size down. And then last thing I want to talk about was the performance of the PIBA itself is great. I absolutely love the formulation of P-backs that they put in here. It's a tiny bit firmer, and ooh, something interesting I'm noticing as I'm pushing in right here, it looks like you're getting all of this as PIBA, but in reality, the PIBA is only really starting under your foot, right above, if you see where this line is, maybe two, I don't know what you'd call these, 2 rows with these little, it's a little net pattern, but 2 rows above where this line is, that's where the full stack of PIBA is starting. So a little bit of an illusion there, something we're noticing with the shoe. But anyway, really awesome ride with this PIBA. I love how they've tuned it. It's a little bit denser. It's almost like a Light Strike Pro, very similar. And so at my normal aerobic running pace, it felt okay. But then as I started to pick it up, and also as I was running, so I tried different mechanics to see how it would activate. And as I was running at my normal pace, but with a lower cadence and pushing down, plopping down my feet a little bit harder to the midfoot and forefoot, that's when it felt best. And then of course that mirrors the force you put down on a shoe for faster running. So when you're running a little bit faster, I think marathon pace for most people, half marathon pace, or even everyday miles if you're a heavier runner, this thing is going to feel great. And so that is a huge benefit of the Cloudmonster Hyper, getting this full stack, or not full stack, but half stack of P-backs. And then I mentioned the little gap here. I'm not sure it's really adding much of anything. I think at certain pieces, I might have felt a little bit of that cloud sensation. So if you've ever run in the Cloudmonster or Cloud Stratus, the sensation feels a little bit like the foam is squishing underneath your feet and then releasing and popping you forward. You get a little bit of that under here too. It's a cool feeling, and you don't get it up in the very forefoot here, but I think it enhances a little bit of that rolling sensation. So overall, 3x2 miles, we were at about a 6-minute pace. I'll fire up the splits later, but this was a nice shoe for that work. It didn't feel like it was giving me a ton of speed assistance like a plated shoe would do, but when I picked up the pace, it responded well. So similar to the Boston 12 in that respect, where the shoe's not going to do the work of running for you, but it does have a nice friendly rolling feeling. All right, guys, it is bada boom, bada bing, 6:58. We're a little bit behind. Genie Cusimano. All right, we got to go home. Let's do it. And Charlie and I started watching Sopranos Season 1 again yesterday. I think I've watched Season 1 like 3 times. It's kind of hard to make momentum with shows when you have kids, but what a banger of a show, man. Hopefully we can make it through Season 1. We actually only got through 10 minutes of the episode last night. Man, I got to see if they can put on Shade 45 in here or something. Now it's interesting because I think the value that you get out of this shoe, or even the perceived value that you think you might get before you buy it, is really going to depend on how you classify the shoe. And I don't watch any of the other shoe review channels, and I don't read other people's reviews other than on the forums, because I want to come to this with fresh eyes, fresh feet, fresh legs, and my own opinions. But I did see, against my will, I saw another channel calling this in the description. I didn't watch the video, but they called this a daily trainer. And now, this is really going to influence how you think the shoe is going to perform for you. First, how it's going to perform, but also whether you think it's worth it. And so spending $220 on a daily trainer, the only daily trainers at $200 that are billed as that are the Traxxam and the Elliott Runner, and then there's a shoe from APC and some other fashion / performance brands that are at $200. So after 22 miles riding in this, for me, this is more of a plated training shoe. This is more of a Superblast competitor, a Boston 12 competitor, than it is a daily trainer. When I hear daily trainer, I think of Nike Pegasus. I think of Asics Gel Nimbus for people who like that soft cushioned ride. I put those more in the max cushion recovery oriented shoe segment. But with this guy here, this does not feel like a daily trainer to me. This feels like a marathon speed training shoe. And so a little bit of a price premium in that case is okay for me. And that's the other thing I wanted to talk about. I was thinking about this yesterday. The price premium on this is pretty similar to what you'd get if you're thinking about Asics and the price premium on the Superblast versus the Gel Nimbus. There's a $40 difference between the Superblast and Nimbus. Same thing as the regular Cloudmonster, that's at $180. This guy is at $220. So the percentage price premium, if you want to do it that way, is actually slightly less on this versus the Cloudmonster, because they went with $40. So either way, $220 is seriously expensive. And so that's the other thing I wanted to touch on with this shoe, who it's going to be best for. I highly doubt anybody buying this shoe is going to come into it as a pure beginner, and I wouldn't suggest using this as your first running shoe as a pure beginner, although it could be good for that. However, if you're a type of runner who wants one shoe to do everything, and you've been running for a little bit, maybe you have something like a Pegasus, or you have something like a Cloudmonster and want to upgrade, and you do half marathons in the Cloudmonster, you do workouts in the Cloudmonster. If you're the type of runner who wants one or two shoes max, this is going to be a really good shoe for you. Now, on the other hand, if you're a runner who manages a large rotation, 4 or 5 different shoes, but you are more budget oriented, this is not going to be the shoe for you. The performance of it, not saying that it's not a fast shoe or it's not a good shoe, but the specific capabilities that it has, which are protecting your legs while also giving a fast and fun ride, while also giving stability, it mashes together a lot of what you get in different types of shoes. If you have 4 different shoes, you probably have a more stable recovery shoe in something like a Nimbus or a Shift. You probably have a fun fast shoe in something like a Boston or a Superblast. You probably have a racing shoe. And so if you are trying to get the most value per dollar, trying to get as many miles per possible, as many miles as possible. Did I say as many miles per possible? That's bad. But if you're trying to get as many miles as possible out of a shoe, manage your rotation in a smart way, probably not going to make sense to grab this unless, and this is the third category of people, you're just addicted to buying shoes or you love running shoe culture. And that's where this thing comes into play. And the last thing I want to touch on before we get home, we're almost in the neighborhood here, and I don't know if you guys can see outside, probably not, but it is blooming and blossoming. These bushes and trees are looking amazing. Spring in the Carolinas is the most underrated. People think about going to Aspen in the winter, going to Cape Cod in the summer. I think coming to Charlotte in the spring, that's got to go up on the list of best American spots throughout the year. Last thing I want to say about the On Cloudmonster here. The initial Cloudmonster, now this is the Hyper, the initial Cloudmonster, that has become an iconic shoe. And I've seen people wearing that shoe who you would not expect to be wearing an On, or not expect to be wearing a running shoe, similar to the Clifton. The Clifton has become an iconic shoe as well. It's an important shoe in sneaker culture, and I think On recognizes that, and so that's also part of the $200 price here, or $220 price here, is they know this is going to become a hit. And with the initial Cloudmonster, they're continuing to produce that shoe, even though they have the Cloudmonster 2. This is almost like the modern Air Max. And so adding in the PIBA foam, this isn't just going to become something that runners who log high mileage use. It's going to become the coolest, most expensive sneaker or running sneaker on the market. And so I think you're going to start seeing this on the feet of a lot of people, and especially people who blend running and fashion, high schoolers, people with drip, people with swag. That's what the Cloudmonster Hyper is going to be great for too. And so $200 price point, $220 price point, man. I keep forgetting the 20. That's where it all comes from. And I think that's how On is justifying it. And I don't think they're going to have any trouble moving pairs of these. So we are backing up the driveway here. I don't know what we're going to get into today, but family time. My thermometer is now reading 36 in here. So it is a little bit of a brisk spring Carolina morning. But I am, let's see, beep, beep, beep. All right, I'm fully backed in. I think maybe we'll do some comparisons in the office with the Cloudmonster Hyper now that we've gotten a workout in it, and talk through some of the other aspects of the shoe that we didn't address. All right, I'll see you guys in a bit. Decided to do a little family hike at the beautiful Mora Mountain here, and I'm in the OG Cloudmonsters. We'll probably switch into the Nordas though. But look at this, only 1 hour away from home. And that's cool. It's all different types of fish. Bass. Bang, 4 mile hike, 1 hour, 56 minutes, 26 seconds in the Norda 001. What a beautiful day. All right, guys, it is 6:12 p.m. and we are fortunate to have a little bit of this natural light left here. So we're going to do this comparison outside, which is awesome. So Cloudmonster Hyper here, got the workout in this morning, 3x2 miles. Also got that first run in a few days ago, really smooth for that first run, 12 miles, so about 90 minutes to 2 hours, just some nice time on feet. And so far, this guy has been a little bit on the firmer side, but nice pop, nice bounce up in the forefoot. And then we got the Superblast here. So this guy, we have almost 100 miles on this guy right now. I think it's sitting at about 90, so we got to get that 100-mile review soon. But so far, I've liked this the most for recovery efforts, not all out, maybe even everyday runs, but I've actually liked it the most for doing some stroller runs and when I just want to cruise, get some time on feet without feeling super beat up. So the reason I want to compare these two, other than the price, is because, as I mentioned earlier, they both have that racing foam, in this case PIBA, in this case the FF Turbo, which is likely another nylon-based compound. And they also both have the same spirit, which is to be a comfortable, accessible, everyday running shoe that just takes it up to the next level. And when I say everyday running shoe, you might think of a Pegasus or a Daily Trainer, but that's not really what you're getting out of either of these guys. With these, you're getting a shoe that can do it all. And so I actually did bring out a third shoe that I want to introduce into this comparison here, which is the New Balance SC Trainer V2. And so we've been talking about the Boston 12 recently, which is my favorite plated training shoe. And this is also another good one. It's a different type of shoe than the Boston 12. Boston 12 is all about speed. This guy is all about comfort. And the reason why I wanted to bring it out is because it's similar to what I've been getting so far from the On Cloudmonster Hyper. So diving into the Cloudmonster Hyper here, this is a good amount of protection with some balance. And so in these first two runs, and of course we only have 22 miles, but what I've been getting out of this shoe is awesome stability and support, and then pep for faster running in the forefoot. And so far, I think the two main shoes that are closest to that are the SC Trainer V2 and the ASIC Superblast. Both of these guys you can use for faster workouts, and I did use this for faster workouts, but they're really high mileage eaters, and that's why I'm holding back on doing those full official comparisons with the Cloudmonster Hyper here, is because I want to get a lot of mileage on this before I give my full opinions. And so this morning it was good. It did respond down at that 6 flat pace, but where I really loved it was that first run, 90 minutes. As I ended that run, I felt like I could just keep going, and that's something that all these shoes share. The New Balance SC Trainer V2, this used to be my favorite, and I don't know if used to be, it probably still is, but one of my favorite shoes for long runs when I don't have marathon pace. And as I get into the next phase of training after this marathon in 10 days, I'll probably be going back to this shoe and this shoe and this shoe for those long runs, and also just for rebuilding my fitness in general when I'm not crushing workouts. Now, I have been crushing workouts in my long runs over the past few weeks, and so past few months actually, and so I hadn't been going for the SC Trainer V2 a lot because I don't love this shoe for faster running. I mean, just look at this massive stack of fuel cell underfoot here. This is what gives it such a comfortable experience. And so Cloudmonster Hyper here, this is going for a similar thing as the SC Trainer V2, and if you take a look at the stack to the eye, it's pretty similar to what we're getting in the New Balance. However, through the 22 miles, this is nowhere near as comfortable if we're thinking about that soft, plush feeling as the SC Trainer V2. It is probably a little bit closer to the Superblast, and we're thinking about a little bit of a firmer, more structured ride. And again, because we do have that standard EVA foam here on the heel, they are using the Cloud Pods, but because we have that standard EVA, that's going to give it that firmness. Now, compared to the Superblast specifically, what the Hyper has that the Superblast doesn't is a little bit more of that bounce and pep off the forefoot that I personally prefer, that I haven't gotten from the Superblast too much. Sometimes it feels, with just all the stack that you're getting here, that it can be like running an oatmeal. I called it driving a boat. Someone else said it was like your feet are biting into a meringue cookie, and I loved that comparison. Sometimes it just feels like I sink into this foam and I don't get the rebound that I'm hoping for and that I would expect out of a racing foam. And this morning, and we were talking about this earlier, I'm not sure if it's the gap or just the PIBA foam, or the combination of the PIBA foam and a little bit of snap from this firmer EVA that almost acts like a bottom plate here, but I was getting a lot of that bounce for faster running, and it felt great when landing at the forefoot and really pushing off there. And so Superblast can be a little bit mushy. It's not a super soft firm, but it can feel a little bit mushy in a way that even the SC Trainer V2 doesn't, because they put that carbon fiber plate here. And I was actually thinking, I think the Superblast would be a great shoe if they put a nylon plate in it. That would elevate it for me to the next level. And I know that's kind of the benefit of the Superblast, and I say kind of the benefit because I'm thinking about the ride experience. I don't care if a shoe has a plate or not a plate. It's more about how it rides. But I know a lot of folks out there like the shoe because it doesn't have a plate. I think it would be enhanced with a plate. And so Cloudmonster here, or Cloudmonster Hyper, this guy does not need a plate because of what they're doing with this foam. And like we chatted about earlier, that is a little bit of a weight penalty because EVA is not going to be as light as a nylon or a carbon fiber plate would be, but it does add a lot of that snap. And so Hyper, out of these three, this is where I was getting the most snap. I was getting the most bounce so far. This is a very bouncy shoe, but in more of a slow rolling way where you're not going to want to be hammering workouts in this guy. At least me personally, I don't like hammering workouts in this. I like this for time on feet. So Cloudmonster Hyper, yes, time on feet, but it does have a little bit more snap and bite than either of these two shoes with that PIBA in the forefoot. All right, guys, now the other thing I wanted to talk about is weight. I'm going to go inside and grab the scale really quickly, but that's another important thing if we're thinking about these shoes as those distance training shoes, but also blending endurance, comfort capabilities with speed. The weight of them is important, so let's go throw them on the scale. All right, guys, so let's take a look at the Cloudmonster Hyper here first. We got to turn on the scale for this to be working, huh? So this guy is 277 grams. That is up near the Boston 12, very close. Then we have the Superblast here. This is a decently lightweight shoe. Yeah, 264 grams. It's also a half size bigger, so it's probably 258 in my size 10.5. And then SC Trainer V2. 290. So I did have them lined up by weight here. And the biggest difference in weight is going to be the content of these foams. So this fuel cell here, this is a little bit of a denser foam. It's a supercritical EVA TPU blend. One of my favorite foams, super soft. I loved it in the Rebel V3, and they moved to a different formula. So because it has that EVA content, it's a little bit heavier. And then of course, Cloudmonster Hyper here, we get tons of EVA. And then in the Superblast, you mostly get that FF Turbo with just a thin layer of EVA on the bottom. And so for me, when I'm thinking about weight, and all of these shoes, or these two shoes, are on the heavier side for speed training shoes. But if we look at them against other daily trainers, if you're going to wear a shoe for everyday runs and even long runs, it's not that big of a deal. And so if I'm thinking about the trade-offs between having a little bit more weight and what we're getting, in this guy, you get the comfortable upper, you get the little bit more structured foam, you're going to get more stability from that weight. But you also do get a lot of bounce from the Pipa and the forefoot. And so that's the reason I didn't mind the weight a lot in the Boston 12, because it was a nice bouncy shoe that when picking up the pace a little bit, it did respond, and Cloudmonster Hyper is similar. And so weight aside, out of these three so far, I think I would still have to pick the SC Trainer V2 for just pure time on feet. And somebody was asking me today actually about SC Trainer V2 versus Superblast. I have not done a full comparison between these guys yet. I probably should do that. I absolutely love this shoe. And then for speed workouts, I think the Cloudmonster Hyper is the best out of these three. I only got that one workout in this morning on the treadmill. I really want to get some more miles in this thing after my race, but it responded really well. It's not going to be as great as a Takumi Sen, but I preferred this shoe to Speed 4. I would put it up there with Boston 12, maybe. We have to see again. I want to do some longer reps, but it responded really well. My legs were tired and I was able to crank up the pace, and I felt like I was getting some decent speed assistance. Not the best, but decent speed assistance in this. And then I also want to do some recovery runs in it to see how it does, because if it's better than the Superblast for recovery runs, not as great as the Boston 12 for fast running, but if it's a 9 in all those categories and a 7 for fast running, then this could take the throne. I also love the way it looks and really comfortable fit on foot. So that's where I'd take Cloudmonster Hyper out of these three, daily and workouts. And then Superblast out of these three, I don't know if I would take it for anything, because SC Trainer V2, that's the time on feet shoe. This guy is the speed workout shoe. If we're thinking about recovery runs, maybe I would take the Superblast, but again, I'd probably have to go for the SC Trainer V2 for the time on feet. So Cloudmonster Hyper is competitive in this category. This is going to be 220. This is 180. This is 200. So again, it's a bit of a premium, but as we were chatting about earlier, you're paying that $40 premium over the Gel Nimbus for this shoe, and you're paying the $40 premium over their standard daily trainer, the Cloudmonster, for this shoe. Oh, one more thing. SC Trainer V2, out of these shoes here, this is going to be the one that most often goes on sale. I picked this up for around $140 over the holidays, and they had this colorway on sale for $140 to I think $115 was the lowest it dropped with all the discounts and everything applied to it. So this is probably going to be the best bang for your buck. The durability on it is, I've heard mixed reports. My guy Vinny B told me he got $450 out of a pair of these, but other people say they go flat around $100. I have $100 on it and it's still going strong. So definitely going to be the best if you can get a deal on it in terms of price. This guy, I think we're going to see great durability because Pipa is fairly durable. And then with the firmer foam here, I think we're going to end this. Just look how thick this outsole is. I think we're going to get some great durability out of this one. Superblast, we've also heard that a lot of runners can get 500, 400 miles out of this guy. So these are all, or these two both, you should get good durability. This one, maybe not, but should get the best deal on it. Overall, I'm really impressed with the Cloudmonster Hyper. This morning was a bit of a tough workout just getting into it. I was tired, not feeling it, and the shoe helped me execute. The effort felt good. The shoe felt like it was helping me hit my paces, and there's not much more you can ask for out of a marathon training shoe than that, and it was comfortable doing that. It left me feeling decently fresh. So super excited to put some more workouts, likely lots of recovery runs after the marathon on this guy. This might be my rotation post-marathon right here, and I actually do have one more shoe. I have a few more shoes, but one more shoe I'm excited about adding into the marathon recovery rotation that I'm going to bring onto the channel soon. So let me know all your questions on the Cloudmonster Hyper.
what you want to see this compared to. As always, thank you guys for watching, and I'll be back tomorrow with another video.